Hey guys, welcome back to my channel and another video. If you are new here, my name is Nicole and I make bookish related content once a week, and then this week we have our last bonus video. As you can already see from the title, today's video is going to be my December reading wrap up for 2023. This is a little bit bittersweet just because it is the last reading wrap up for the year of 2023. This month was an interesting one, I will say that. I feel like I had some okay reads and then I had some duds, and I really just need to stop picking books to read in December because December is not the time where I want to read books at the start of the month. My priorities lie elsewhere. But to sum it all up, I did read 7 books in the month of December and I did DNF one of these books. Overall, for the year of 2023, I did read 81 books, which I'm pretty proud of. My reading goal was 60. But let's just get straight into this because I'm on a time limit. So the first book that I picked up was the Romcom Agenda by Jane Denker. And this book focuses on, I think it's Leah and Eli. So Leah has spent the last year caring for her terminally ill foster mum who does actually pass away. And then Leah is sort of stuck in a rut and she's not really sure what to do with herself now, but she does know that she wants to leave the town that she was caring for her foster mum, basically doing every single random job that she can in order to get the money that she needs so she can leave the town. And then we have Eli. His girlfriend, Victoria, is moving away to Rome for work. She's basically going to be gone for a year. They've been together a couple months, and basically the night before she leaves, Eli decides to propose to her because he thinks that she's the one and that they're meant to be together forever. Victoria doesn't agree and actually breaks up with him when he proposes to her. So Eli doesn't take the no at face value and thinks that the no was not said because she doesn't want to marry him and they've not been together long enough. He thinks it's because he needs to change himself. So he embarks on this journey to basically change himself. So his personality, his clothing. He also starts as well watching a whole heap of rom-com movies to kind of work out what kind of personality he needs to have to try and win Victoria back when she does return back from Rome. Leah is also dragged into this mess as well. She thinks the whole thing's nonsense and doesn't think that he should be changing himself for Victoria because there is nothing wrong with him. In the process, they do begin to fall for one another. Look, I feel like the premise was great. I just found the book overall dull. It was pretty slow paced for me and I really didn't enjoy the characters very much, and as such I couldn't really get into it. There's also no mention of Christmas. If you watched my December TBR, I thought there was Christmas vibes. There are none, but I ended up rating it 3 stars because I just couldn't get into it and I didn't really enjoy it. I then attempted to read Love, Hate and Clickbait by Liz Bowery. This novel focuses on Tom and Clay. Tom is a cutthroat political consultant working for the governor of California, and then Clay is a data analyst also working for the governor of California, and everybody hates him. Now, the governor does decide to run for president when she's getting off a plane, makes homophobic comment, and it just makes things look really, really bad for her. Later that night, Tom and Clay get into an argument and they get photographed in a compromising position where it looks like they're actually kissing, but in actual fact they're arguing. It gets leaked to the media and it has a positive effect on the governor's campaign. Clay and Tom have to pretend to fake date and be in a relationship. And that's all I know about this novel because as you can see, the bookmark is still in it because I only read 150 pages. I got halfway through a chapter, I put it down, I DNF'd it. I did not like this book. I hated the writing style and I mostly hated the characters, all of the characters, because they were just all awful. Everyone belittled Clay, every opportunity that they got. And look, yes, Clay wasn't very likable. I didn't like him, but I just don't think he knew how to relate to people and as such didn't know how to form connections and stuff with other people. And basically due to this, I just couldn't keep reading it. So as such, I DNF'd it and I don't regret anything because that book was terrible. And then the third novel that I picked up was Kissho Once For Me by Alison Coren. This was the first actual Christmas novel that I did read in December. So we focused on Ellie, Jack and Andrew. One Christmas Eve, Ellie and Jack actually meet up at a bookstore as strangers and they end up spending Christmas Eve. They have a night together and then everything falls apart the next day on Christmas Day and then they don't see one another, and then we flash forward to just before Christmas the following year. Ellie has lost her job as an animator and she's working in a cafe with a boss who treats her terribly, and she just takes it, and her rent is also increasing and she just can't afford it. Andrew is the landlord of the cafe place where it's being rented. Grandfather has left him an inheritance, however has stipulated this clause that in order for him to get his inheritance, he does in fact need to be married. He offers a deal to Ellie where he will give her 10% of his inheritance if she agrees to marry him. Ellie agrees to this because she's essentially broke and needs the money, and she's actually forced to spend Christmas with Andrew and his family. At the family cabin, Ellie actually falls in love with Andrew's family, but is horrified to discover that Andrew's little sister is Jack, the woman from the previous Christmas Eve that she's basically been obsessed with for the last year. So I did like this story for the most part. I wasn't a fan of the writing style. I just couldn't really connect to the characters very much. The best part of this novel for me were the grandmothers. I thought they were great. They were just drunk the whole time wearing Christmas sweaters, and I thought it was great. I did find at times it was just a little bit annoying because it was like, oh, these two people are engaged but they're not in love, but they're actually in love with their fiance's sister or their sister's best friend kind of a thing, and it was just like, it just seemed unnecessary at times. So look, this is actually the second novel that I've read by this author. The first one was The Charm Offensive, and I didn't actually enjoy that novel either. So I do think that this is probably going to be the last novel that I pick up by this author, just because I don't really enjoy their books. But I did rate this novel 3.5 stars. We then move into what was probably my favorite book that I read in December, which was the Xmas Holidays. And this was a really, really good Christmas story. I'm really glad that I picked it up because I was hesitant to buy it, but I thought it was fantastic and I thoroughly enjoyed it. But we just focus on Maya and Sam, who briefly dated back when they were 18 years old, end of high school, but it ended badly. It's been like 8 years by the time we flash forward to the current events. But what ended up happening was that Maya moved away for college and then work, and she's now returning because she's actually left that job. I can't remember if she got fired or not. And she's also split from her boyfriend. So on Maya's trip home, one of her friends is actually holding like a little Christmas mini get together with some other girlfriends. So Maya attends and is horrified to discover that her ex Sam is the naked waiter that was hired for this event, which was great. I thought that was fantastic. And he's just doing this gig for extra cash to get money on the side to help out a friend. And Sam is still with his girlfriend Kat, who was the girl that he got with when things ended badly between him and Maya. So Maya and Sam continually have a number of run-ins, and eventually Maya gets her old job back at the ski fields where Sam is still working. He's actually like assistant manager or something like that. So their old feelings between one another do in fact resurface, and they actually discover 8 years later what actually caused them to break up. I just really enjoyed this novel. I did really like that it depicted what toxic relationships can look like towards men from women, and like the gaslighting and the emotional manipulation. I thought that was really well executed. I loathed Kat, thought she was freaking horrendous individual, but I would read another novel by this author. I'm kind of hoping that she makes this like a companion series, and next year we get like another like Christmas novel set in this town, because Sam has a twin sister and she's kind of into one of his mates, and they were sort of like hinting at a little bit of a romance. And if that's the case, you best believe I will be picking them up and reading them, because I rated this 4.5 stars. I thought it was great. I had a fantastic time with it. It was then at this point, I was basically at around Christmas Day. It took me a while to get through those 3.5 books. And then I got to this point and realized that I was at 77 novels, and I really, really, really just wanted to get to 80 books. I found 2 free ebooks through Apple Books that I did read. First book that I picked up was Enemies with Benefits. From memory, I think it's Roxy Noir, but in this novel we focus on Violet and Eli again, and they were enemies as teenagers at school. They always had competitions, would pick on one another. When school ended, Eli left, and he's now come back 10 years later, and when he does return back to their small town, he ends up working for the same hotel that Violet works at, and they both don't like this. So he's there as the head chef, and she is the event coordinator at the hotel. And this hotel is also a very popular wedding venue. And due to this and the fact that they actually have there's a princess coming there to get married and some other celebrities. So they're doing quite well. Because of this, the hotel manager just casually throws out in a staff meeting and, oh yeah, the person that performs the best during our wedding season, we're going to give you $20,000 as a bonus, but only for one person. Amazing if you're that one person, but you can just imagine the chaos and the backstabbing that's going to go ahead. Violet and Eli find themselves working together because they notice that there's some sabotaging going on. And yes, we want to win the money, but we also want to make sure these weddings go ahead as well as possible and there's no issues because, one of them's a princess. They also then enter into a friends with benefits agreement. And as we all know, things are never that simple with enemies. And I really enjoyed this one as well, if you can't tell. I thought it was a fun, cute enemies to lovers novel. I really liked the chaos that was the wedding at the hotel and preparing for it and everything that they needed to do. I thought Eli and Violet were great characters and I really loved Eli's family as well. So I am considering picking up the other novels, but I did also rate that one 4.5 stars. Then we come on to my second ebook read of the month. It was called Charming the Alpha. I don't remember the author's name because I've made the decision to burn this book from my memory. This is a read that I should have DNF'd, but for whatever reason, it was a train wreck and I just couldn't find myself stopping. There was so much going on. It was terrible, but I'm going to give you, it's going to be spoilers, but I don't think it's a bad thing because I do not recommend that anyone ever pick this book up at all. It was terrible. So I'm just going to tell you very quickly, summarize what actually happened in this novel. And if I'm looking this way, it's because I'm looking at my laptop where I've written it. So we focus on Hannah Crane, who is a witch and werewolf alpha called Caleb. Hannah is 22 and she speaks to the dead, mostly just her grandmother in a random field near their house at, I think something to do with the moons, maybe the full moon. One night she's there talking to her grandmother who is very obsessed with her keeping her hair shorter, not longer. She meets a werewolf who ends up taking her home. They end up having a random kiss. The dude's also naked. Later on becomes obsessed with him and then discovers, once going to a magical bar, that he's the alpha. She then also discovers that her father is actually a werewolf and that's why her mum doesn't like to talk about him. And it actually turns out that her grandmother hid the letters that her werewolf daddy sent, and turns out he didn't actually abandon her mother like they were led to believe. And if grandma hadn't have done this, she could have been raised with mum and werewolf daddy. She then goes on a random half date with Alpha Caleb. And I say half date because they get to the restaurant, they order, and then he's like to the waitress, can you deliver this to my house? And he takes her to his house, which is a houseboat, and then they have sex. And then after they're finished having sex, the food arrives. And then at some point he decides to end things with her just to protect her because he's realized she's half shifter and that spending more time with him is making her shifter werewolf side come out. He thinks the best way to protect her and stop her becoming a shifter, because there's an evil coyote that's looking for her, is to stop spending time with her. She then decides to continue pursuing him, disregarding everything that he wants, and she comes to this conclusion after speaking to her long dead relative who has been cursed by her drunk husband. They're 1700s were wild. Some shit about her being the 13th witch, I think it was. It never went anywhere, and I don't know if it will go somewhere in the later books because I'm not going to read them. We then also get kidnapped by the said evil coyote shifter. Alpha Caleb then tries to save her. She then, when he rocks up to save her, shifts for the first time. She has absolutely no issue shifting, and if you've ever read a shifter book or even seen movies or TV shows, those fuckers are in pain doing so because their body parts break and shit. She's fine, no issues, no pain. Girl's good. She's good to go. She then manages to take out somebody else. She then ends up punching the evil witch that is helping the evil coyote and knocks this girl out. And this woman has had no training whatsoever in how to fight. She manages to take out 2 people. Her first time as a werewolf. That's not believable. She then saves the day, because of course, and then Caleb proposes. And that is Charming the Alpha. And all of that happened in 100 pages. I really wish I could tell you guys I was making this up, but I'm not. It was an experience. I will not be picking up the rest of the books because I thought it was bloody insane. I obviously hated it and I rated it 1 star. So the 6th book that I did physically read in December was The Christmas Escape by Sarah Morgan. This was the most surprising book I read this month. I didn't think I was going to like it, and I actually did, which was great. We do focus on 2 best friends, Christy and I pronounce it Alex. So Christy is married with a 4-year-old daughter called Holly, and Christy and her husband Seb have decided that they are going to take Holly to Lapland for Christmas to basically A, experience it, but B, also to reconnect with Christy's estranged aunt Robin, who happens to live there. Christy also invites Alex along too, because Alex and Christy have basically spent all of their Christmases together since they were like 7 or 8, because Alex's parents made it very obvious to her that she was a mistake. Her parents, once they divorced, were always trying to palm her off to the other parent. They make the plans, the tickets are booked, and then Seb turns around and says, hey, I'm really sorry, I have a work meeting. I'm going to meet you, Holly and Alex, there later. And Christy goes, no. Alex will take Holly and I will stay here with you and we will fly out together in order to save their marriage, because Christy's worried he's cheating because she sees some emails. So Alex ends up taking Holly to Lapland. However, Seb and Alex don't have a great relationship. As such, he sends his best friend Zach to accompany Holly and Alex to Lapland. And the problem is that Alex has actually been avoiding Zach for the last 4 years due to the one-night stand that they had at Seb and Christy's wedding. Alex has to confront her feelings for Zach. Zach is very open with the fact that he's interested in Alex. He wants to pursue something. It sounded a little bit crazy, I'm not gonna lie, but I thought this was a really sweet family-orientated Christmas novel. I really want to go to Lapland even more now. So we did have dual point of views of like Christy and Alex. I did prefer Alex's point of view. I didn't really care so much for Christy's. I found myself skimming it, didn't care about the marriage problems. I was more interested in what was going on in Lapland. But I did give this one 4 stars, and I would consider picking up another Sarah Morgan novel. The 7th and final book that I picked up this month was Rebel Rose by Emma Theriault. It's the Disney's The Queen's Council collection. Oh goody, I've damaged the book. Excellent. It's been a couple of weeks and I still don't know what to make of this novel. It was a bit of an odd one, but it focuses on the characters from Beauty and the Beast, and we basically continue on the story from how it ended after the events of the movie. So we obviously have all of our characters back. So we've got Belle and the Beast, whose name is apparently Leo, but it was very weird every time I read it because obviously he's the Beast. So they're now married, good for them. And Belle refuses to take on the title of princess. So because they've been under the curse for 10 years, Leo and the town have basically been out of touch with the King of France. So they decide they're going to travel to Paris, to Versailles, to meet up with the King of France and just try and work out if they're in his good book still or not. They discover that Paris is on the brink of the revolution. I think it's 1789 from memory, the time of this book. They discover this and find out sort of what's going on with the help of Leo's cousin Bastien, who allows them to stay at his place and is also trying to help direct Leo through what's going on in society now. Belle and Leo end up quickly heading back to Avion, the town, and their castle, as the situation just becomes a lot worse in Paris with the revolution, and Bastien actually tags along with them. So once they return back to the castle, Leo becomes king. I don't know what they do, but they basically separate themselves from France and they establish him as a king. And this was basically all of Bastien's idea. And then he also sends Leo off to meet all of the nobles, leaving Belle alone in the castle with Bastien and advisors who don't like her. She also, because she doesn't want to be a princess, doesn't take on the title of queen either. I just really didn't like it very much overall. I just felt like it ruined the characters from Beauty and the Beast for me. I hated Belle. Belle was annoying. She was very selfish. They completely changed her character from what it was in the movies to in this book, and I just didn't like what they did. I thought Bastien was a creep and I didn't like him from the start. I was right about him. What I did like about this novel though, and what was the reason why I kept reading it, was because the way that the author weaved in the historical events of what actually happened in France in the 1700s with the revolution. I thought that stuff was really fascinating and I enjoyed reading about like the French Revolution, and I thought that the author explained it in a really simple way, and that's the reason why I rated it 3 stars, because I enjoyed that aspect of it. The rest of it I couldn't give a fuck about. So I have decided, because this is part of like the Queen's Council, is like Disney is getting different authors to basically continue on the story of all of their Disney princesses. I know for a fact, I think we've got Mulan as one, but I'm not interested in picking them up because I really didn't enjoy this one and I don't really care to read the rest of them, but I'm glad I have read it. But that was the 7th and final book that I did read in December. Okay guys, so they are all 7 books that I did read in the month of December and the 1 book that I DNF'd in 2023. But I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Like I said, we have our last bonus video going up on Thursday from memory. It should be my least favorite reads of 2023. But I hope you guys did enjoy this video. If you did, please give it a thumbs up. If you're not subscribed, please feel free to hit that subscribe button as it does really help me out. But anyway, I will see you guys on Thursday. Bye!